In today's video we are going to have an in-depth preview of the Charlemagne, a tier 8 British heavy tank which just recently got introduced to the Supertest. Now, a quick little overview of the tank. It is a 440 alpha gun, 220mm of penetration. It is a 120mm low velocity gun. We'll see that in just a second. It has a very good mobility, decent survivability and pretty decent gun angles. However, the DPM is trash. Now let's just jump in and compare it to some brethrens. Now let's begin with the firepower as per usual. Again, 440 alpha, 220 penetration, 270 penetration with APs. Both are APs, one of which obviously being a premium one. 530 alpha with HE and 60mm of penetration. So sadly, no Hesh Slinger, because that would have been cool. 120mm of penetration on HE. Whew, that would have been very interesting. Now it has 16 seconds of reload time, giving it a base DPM of 1650, and you can already see it is the worst of the bunch. Literally, even the Defender, which doesn't really have great DPM, has still 110 DPM more than the Charlemagne. That's a little bit sad if you ask me. It's kind of interesting, but it looks like the Charlemagne has other redeeming features. Plus, we don't really need another Defender 2.0. The biggest issue which I'm probably going to have with the Charlemagne is that it has 597 meters per second shell velocity. Guys, that is insanely slow. Like, you could compare it to the T100 LT's HE, which is around 500-ish. It is incredible slow and super frustrating. I recently was playing the Turtle Mark 1 and I have to say, goddamn, it was hard to hit the cupola of an enemy Knaven Action X, even though he was just driving backwards with 12 kph, because even at 20 meters, the lack of shell velocity lead to the gun or the shot just lopping over the enemy, you know? So it's simply kind of frustrating to use in that sense. So it will be very, very hard to properly aim and properly do sniping, or even at close distances, hitting weak spots of moving targets, because they are so slow. Like when you compare it to something like the Concept 1B, the shot is almost instant there. It is a small caliber APCR or APDS round in that regard. So it's so much faster at the target, letting you to get easier shots off. So yeah, definitely DPM not that great, and the shell velocity not that great either. Let's have a look at the accuracies. Here we have a different picture. It is inaccurate. 0.44 meters, yeah, that's garbage. 3.2 seconds aim time, yeah, that is garbage. It's the same shit the Object 252 has. Literally, it's the same deal the Defender has. It's bad. But what the Defender also has is very bad accuracy on the move. 0.24 and 0.12 for movement and for turret. Where meanwhile, the Charlemagne has 0.12 for the hull and for the turret 0.08. Now, those are some quite good values if you ask me. They are comparable to the ones of the Object 703 version 2, which we all say that it has a very, 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 very good gun handling. However, the Object 730 still aims in a little bit quicker, you know, the version 2. It still aims a tiny touch quicker and has still a little bit better dispersion, especially during turret, because as far as I know it has 0.06 and not 0.08. But look at that. The Knaven Action X, you don't really have the feeling that the gun is that badly stabilized. Yes, it has great aim time and yes, it has great accuracy, but it still feels okay-ish. But look at those gun handling stats. They are far worse than what the Charlemagne is going to offer us. The same goes for Knaven. And yeah, if you compare it to the Object and the 50 TP prototype, yeah, you see. When it comes to snapshotting or at medium distance engagements or close distance engagements, this tank will be an absolute breeze to use, even though the aim time is bad and even though the accuracy is bad. Like, you could even try to compare it to the Batchat Brusque, you know. The Brusque is also one of those tanks which kind of has very, 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 very bad accuracy and very, 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 very long aim time, but the accuracy on the move is so good that it simply works, you know. It simply just works. So that will probably also work for the Charlemagne. Plus, it has minus 10 degrees of gun elevation, which is great. Like, you can work with that amazingly well. Plus 50 degrees, yeah, that's not that good. Could be a little bit better, you know. Especially when the others have 20 and 18 degrees respectively. But it's not like having less gun depression. Like, having less gun depression is much worse than having less gun elevation. So I take that. 32 degrees per second hull traverse, that is pretty decent. As you can see, turret traverse, it's almost the best of the bunch. Only one being better is the Carnarvon Action X. Obviously, it has a smaller turret and it has a lighter turret in that regard. Hull traverse, Charlemagne, yeah, it's not that good. 26 degrees, it's only better than the Carnarvon. Everybody else is a little bit better in that regard. So, yeah, not that good. But what is good? 42 kph top speed, that is juicy. 15 kph reverse speed, that is juicy. And a freaking 18 HP per ton ratio. Now that is very, very, very good. Like, you can't compare it. You literally cannot compare it. The Carnarvon Action X, 14.6. Carnarvon, 13. Object, 13.6. 14.3. Like, those are all values which are by far worse than what the Charlemagne is going to offer. And that is interesting. That gives this tank, like, do you remember the Lorraine 50T, which came to the Supertest? Garbage DPM, 1600 DPM, bam, that's it. Great frontal armor and great speed. The Charlemagne kind of feels like, you know, a little bit of a mixture of that. It is fast. It is not as fast, but it is fast. It has bad DPM compared to others, but it's not that bad. And it has great gun handling and has probably good armor. Not great, but it looks like good. Obviously, we cannot really say for sure how the armor is, but, and there's a big but, from the paper stats so far, it doesn't really look too bad. 130 millimeters on the whole front, 70 on the side, and 170 millimeters of the turret front, and 80 on the side. So when we look at this picture, you can see that it doesn't really look that bad. Like, the upper front plate has a small-ish pike nose and a pretty decent angle, you know? Well, the turret looks nicely roundedly shaped. It has a cupola, but it looks like because the tank is fairly high-ish, or it's fairly high situated in a little bit in the back, as soon as you're using 10 degrees of gun depression, that will be tough, hard, and annoying to hit. It's like the same shit with the Concept 1B, but it's very, very hard to hit that. The fact that it also looks like the whole sights are homogeneous 70 millimeters makes it also a little bit easier to side scrape with, but obviously don't forget you have a pike nose, making it a little bit more annoying to use. 1500 hit points, yeah, that's what everybody has, you know. Only the Carnarvon Action X has a little bit more for no reason whatsoever, except for it being a premium. I don't know. Other than that, you might say, yeah, the armor values don't look that great. Hull armor 130, Carnarvon 130, the same shit, the objects 130. Doesn't look too bad still though. It has a decent angle and you can bounce a decent chunk of rounds with the Carnarvon hulls as soon as you're standing hull down. Obviously you shouldn't, you know, show your lower pipe because that's a weak spot. Maybe that's the same shit for the Charlemagne, which I highly think will. So yeah, the last thing, 380 meters of view range. That doesn't look bad either. That's decent. Sure, it's not the 400 of the Carnarvon, but it's workable. Again, with a good crew, with rations, and with optics, you get 470 meters of view range, which is for a heavy on that tier very, very good. So, let's conclude the Charlemagne. And that is again very, very interesting, you know. Good mobility, high alpha gun, with trash accuracy, and trash shell velocity, and blech DPM, but it's still not bad. It's still not bad in my opinion. The survivability looks great, or good at least. The crew layout looks good for it being a premium or a reward tank. Who knows what it's going to be. In general, like, I was first like, oh, trash shell velocity, trash DPM. Yeah, forget it. It's not going to be good in the current meta. But the fact that it's basically a heavium makes it interesting. Makes it genuinely interesting to me personally. And I look forward to trying my hands on this vehicle to see how it performs. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this tank. Don't forget to let me also know what I can do better, like, you know, with the PowerPoint presentation. I hope you enjoyed the little intro sequence. My friend has some ideas on how to do the PPP anymore, so maybe we're going to have something like that. Don't forget to subscribe. Again, I am sorry that I'm a little bit late with that news. Simply, I had an attestation, aka an exam, for thermal and fluid dynamics, and fellow mechanical engineers will know that thermal and fluid dynamics is a little bit annoying and it's a tough nut to properly understand. So I put in a decent chunk of time into that to, you know, Be smart boy. Upcoming will be the K91-2, which was also reintroduced to the Supertest, but this time as a tier 8 vehicle and not a tier 9 one, so we will see how that is going to turn out. However, it was already changed compared to the stats we already had, so yeah, it will be interesting to see how the tank will be now with the new and different stats from the previous Supertest iteration, which was like on Friday. Thank you so much for watching, cheers, good luck on the battlefield, and I'll see you around. Bye bye!